from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased. Joining me from London, Karan Jain. He's the founder and CEO of NayaOne. Karan, thank you very much for being here with me today. I know how much it can be busy for a CEO like yourself, so thank you for making the time. The way I love to do it, and this I tell all my guests, I keep it to my guests to give us their, quick intro, like a little bit about, your background, what you have done before, and, a little bit about what you're doing with NayaOne. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. I feel privileged and excited to be here and to be speaking to you and your audience. My name is Karan Jain, founder and CEO of NayaOne. My background is financial services and tech for the last 25 years. I've worked in banking, wealth, insurance, capital markets. I've previously run 2 businesses. And as I was getting to a particular point 5 years ago, I realized that it's got to be a better way for enterprises to collaborate with the tech ecosystem, because the tech ecosystem was also going from a couple of hundred vendors to a couple of thousand. So felt like it was a good opportunity to start NayaOne. I'm happy to share more with you as we have this conversation.
Great, and thank you again for being here with me today, Karan. It's a kind of a cliche, traditional question. You just give us a teaser now, but I would love to know the whole story behind NayaOne, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of shortcomings. You've seen a lot of problems that no one maybe have touched so far, or maybe they were not, dealt with the way they deserve to be dealt with. So kind of why you started at NayaOne and what are like the main, I would say, use cases that, you try to solve with what you offer today.
Yeah. Let me start with the problem that NayaOne solves, right? So our core purpose is to accelerate technology adoption by enterprises. What does that mean? So if I'm a leader and a product leader or a technology leader in an enterprise, and I've got a problem to solve, whether that's like I gotta improve my IDV process or my payments platform or my build a product for SMB segment. Typically, it requires working with a vendor. Very rarely people build things from scratch these days. So trying to build something with a vendor, actually finding one is the first hurdle. Second hurdle is trying to see whether they're the right fit. And what does right fit mean? It means, do they actually do what they say they're doing? Does it actually solve, question number 2, does it actually solve the problem that I'm trying to solve? And number 3, if I was to work with this vendor, would it actually integrate into the current stack I have or not? So, as an ex technology executive myself, those are the 3 questions that I was trying to solve for myself. And each vendor was taking me good 6 to 9 months to solve. And I thought there's just got to be a better way to do this. And that's out of that problem, I went to market to find a solution that can help me. I also ended up speaking to close to 50 different CIOs and CTOs in the journey to only realize that it was a problem not just I was facing, it's a problem that the industry as a whole is facing. And we've become so numb to the pain point that working with a vendor is so painful that we just accept it. And I think that's the status quo that NayaOne's changing.
Absolutely. I can relate to this. I used to be sitting on the vendor side. I understand, but I'm also like empathic, as they say, with the client side or the enterprise side, because I used to sit there also as well. Now, just out of curiosity, is there any vertical you see that needs this more than other verticals, or is it something that we can say, the problem exists across the board?
The problem exists across the board. It's definitely more painful in some reason, some verticals. So, for example, financial services, highly regulated environment, third-party risk management is a real, securities concerns are real, data privacy, data leakage are all real. And those are some of the challenges that have, okay, now you got 300 questions minimum that you got to answer, and it's going to take 6 months of review before we can onboard you. What if you could just change that and they go, you know what, actually, why don't you get onto NayaOne? And we've onboarded NayaOne, and in their platform, we can run that proof of concept, or where we can have that collaboration in that platform. So it's definitely more painful in financial service, maybe because I'm biased. I'm ex-financial, mostly been financial services. I see application in health, see application in legal as well. We have a lot of public sector, so ministries and government, again, regulated environments, is typically insurance. If you were to break down financial services within, that's where we see the application right now. That's where our focus is as well.
Makes
But again,
sense.
having said that, we've heard large media companies, especially out of the UAE region, have a very strict procurement process. So it actually applies to all enterprises. And they're like, okay, well, all I want to know is I came across this vendor in a conference. Feels like this is going to
Mhm.
solve my problem. But from that moment to the moment, whether I can confirm this thing is going to be helpful is 12 months. And it's like, can you actually operate like that in 2025?
Welcome to our world, I would say. By the way, it's painful from both sides. It's
100%.
painful from the vendor side and from the customer side. Looks like, especially for the highly regulated verticals, as you mentioned, financial institutions, healthcare, government, of course. The biggest challenge, and I'm again a little bit biased by this, Karam, because as I said, like I lived it on both sides. The biggest problem, maybe I'm repeating some of what you mentioned, is first, yes, like someone claimed to me something. I'm not okay. I need to do a POC, but the POC itself is a painful process because, and this is something I tell people also, like as an advisor, like either you have a snapshot of what this might look like, because you need to test on kind of actual data, actual the
Mhm.
same environment, but again, for the same reasons you mentioned about mainly the data, and we don't want to give access to this vendor whom we might not yet choose the ability to do this. Now I'm curious how you're solving this, like
Perfect. Great
how
question.
how how is this solved?
Yeah. So if I look at the platform, it has three main components. It's got the enterprise gateway that basically connects you into hundreds and thousands of technology providers. And I'm basically talking about a YC company that just graduated to all the way to NVIDIA, to local um, payments provider that, that you'll find in the platform. And if we don't have it, we can bring them and bring them in. The second thing, a second leg in the platform is synthetic data libraries. And we have synthetic data generators that our customers use to generate synthetic data that is high fidelity, i.e., close to what they have inside the UAT and inside their production. It's like, and then the third thing we have is basically the compute and the tooling. So you wrap that all up into a workflow. I can pick the technology provider. I can pick the synthetic data that is close to what I'm used to or is relevant to my organization. And I have all the tooling and compute I can ask for. Then I can run that proof of concept, challenge a champion, customer journey, transformation journey, um, de-risk some of the integration with my core. Those are like top use cases that, banks and insurers and regulators would do on the platform. But that's how we solve that.
Cool. So I understand, Karan, you have like kind of two stakeholders. So you have the vendors, right? and you need to have also the enterprises. Now, how much I would say adaptability have you seen between these two segments? Maybe let me give a guess and correct me if I'm wrong. I guess like the vendors would be more excited because also this will give them a push for
Mhm.
having probably, to your point, like, yeah, 12 months procurement cycle. Any vendor would love to fast forward this to even 1 month. um, but from the client side, have you seen challenges? If I am mistaken, please feel free to correct me, because I believe the vendors would love this. It's music to any CRO or whatever, like who's ever responsible for the sales, to hear that. But from the customer perspective, from the enterprise perspective, who would be are they accepting the concept, and who would be your main, I would say, persona? Like who do you usually talk to?
Yeah, great set of questions. So the vendor side, you're 100% correct. They love us because we accelerate their sales cycle before they get stuck in POC purgatory. You know, we can actually just accelerate that decision in a couple of weeks, rather than them having to wait 9, 12 months and find out that their sponsor inside the enterprise has decided to change jobs. So that they love us. In the last 5 years, I've had one vendor who basically is like, I don't understand this. Okay, I think they were early stage. They're not yet sold to an enterprise. Then the on the customer side, I think the proof's in the pudding. I think when we first started, we were lucky that we had some of the most conservative, very large institutions that became our customers, and they're still customers, and 5x to 10x what they do with us. We started off as a sandbox as a service, but where we are today is more a vendor delivery infrastructure. We basically help them all the way end to end and get them as close to production ready as possible. And I think both of those things are proof in terms of our customers seeing the value that it provides them in the current setup of how the industry is stacked between enterprises and technology vendors. The other thing that I'll mention is uh, there would be banks that I spoke to 2 years ago, and I kid you not, literally, I'm getting emails on a weekly basis. I was like, "Oh, we spoke 2 years ago. Our business is hitting up against the problem that they actually can't accelerate the delivery of their stuff. They really need to test new technology. They need access to open source technology to actually go ahead, move forward, and compete in the market." So we're seeing a lot of inbound again, proof of. I think it's a market coming to terms that they can't just suffer delayed go live timelines because it results in them losing market share to their competitors, as well as losing talent. Because if you can't get access to the latest technology and the latest trends, all your friends are testing out different new technologies in different organizations, and you're like still, I'm not going to name any tools, but like on a age tool, then it's a talent drain as well. So fine. And to your point, persona wise, it can have whatever title, but it's basically executives either on the business or the tech side
Hmm.
who care about delivery, right? I find those people to be highly logical. They're able to, they're logical enough to also make a decision. They understand the value proposition, and those are the people we love working with. So it's typically executives, either product tech, could be innovation as well, but it's typically those places. That's
Yeah,
what.
absolutely. No, that makes complete sense, because I would believe what we call them in the sales language the champions.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so these would be the ones, and of course there will be some kind of sponsor, executive level
These guys are
sponsor who.
typically sponsors, yeah. So that's the other thing that's changed. We've been in business 5 years, and again, we're not trained sales professionals, but we're doing our best and we're learning on the job.
Yeah,
Um, and we find these guys to be the best people to work with because they speak our language of delivery.
absolutely. Now, you mentioned something which triggered a question in my mind. How much, the about, adopting the technology, moving fast, avoiding losing to competitors, avoid losing also the talents and so on. how much do you think the AI gave, this push and urgency for people to really finalize things much quicker? Especially, every like I spoke on the podcast and outside to a lot of uh, both startups, enterprise leaders, and so on. And every time, you know, we talk about these initiatives on the board level, like we know we want to adopt AI, we want to have our own LLMs. Um, do you think what you're currently doing is pushing, giving them this push so they can avoid all the blockers? Because again, maybe we're repeating ourselves. The blockers usually comes from people who either they don't want to change and they will find, bunch of reasons why they push back, or sometimes again the reasons which are valid related to security, privacy, and so on. But now with this initiative, imperative coming from the top of the organization, how was this kind of a, I would say, tailwind for NayaOne business?
Yeah. So I think what's changed in the last 12 to 18 months is number one, you know, the dust has settled in terms of the market dynamics and people are starting to open up more transformation, Horizon 1, Horizon 2 initiatives. And also enterprise AI adoption has become a board level priority, right? So you got your core upgrades, you've got your, major upgrades that are happening in the market, but you've also got people going, okay, well, what does the next 10 years of business look like, which is going to require investment once they've got, an adhesive. Both of those things have been a massive tailwind for NayaOne. And in terms of what we're doing and the activity we're seeing on the platform that these banks and insurers are doing. Um, I think to your other point in terms of like, the talent and people willing to change, I think what I'm finding is as there's been a lot of shuffle in the market in the last 12 to 18 months, most people in the driver's seat of business units or, line of business leader or line of business leader -1 are actually working pretty hard to deliver the outcomes for these enterprises, and they need all the hacks and all the tools in the toolkit to basically number one accelerate their outcome, number two take the risk out of that, and number three make sure decision making on the pro on the in the journey is robust. So that's what we're seeing. Don't know if I answered your question there.
No, absolutely, you did. Thank you, Karan. Um, One other thing which I wanted to ask you, like, how much AI have you used in your technology? Like, what's the use case for a solution like NayaOne that can play its role in also, of course, streamlining the whole thing? Like, is it you did something more on the sales side? Is it within the solution itself? Like, just curious to understand like how you adopted AI yourself.
Ton of use cases. I gotta
Good.
be some of it's commercially sensitive, so I'll try to skirt around that. So, I mean, look, what we did was in the early days we set up AI infrastructure for ourselves, and this is I'm starting with internal use, where we made sure that our data was captured in the right way. It was secure. Model upgrade infrastructure was in place. Hallucination infrastructure was in place, and that we were able to leverage and plug and play tooling as new tools came around. That's the first step we did. The second step we did was basically make sure that a champion from each function was part of a core team, right? Of this AI initiative. Because what that meant was that they become like AI is the biggest change program that we'll all see in the 10 years before and the 10 years to come, right? If not longer. So we want to make sure that we've got actually people from within the teams plugged in. So we're not rolling out product internally and basically telling them, here it is, here, off you go. Let's start using it. So it's more about that communication and understanding the problem from their point. And then the third thing is upskilling not just a few people who can build these products and tools. It's empowering everybody slowly. We're not there yet, but slowly to make sure everyone's able to build, call it chatbots, call it bots, call it agents, in a safe, secure, standardized way without limiting what they want to do. So that's kind of the three approaches we take it, and you can take that across sales, marketing, client success, product, all the places. So that's what we've done internally, and there's
Great.
a ton more to do. We've consciously gone a little bit slower to make sure we got the foundation right, make sure, and now, but it will actually gives us a lot more speed now as we start working through the use cases. On the external side, there's a ton of stuff coming. We actually haven't rolled out AI as part of our stack, because remember, a lot of our customers, most of our customers are banks, insurers, and regulators. And what
Mm-hmm.
are they through to the AI product? You got to go through a next set of onboarding, TPRM process changes the moment you have any AI related to you. But we have a bunch of product that's in the pipeline that's coming through that will pass on the efficiencies to our customers.
Great. To your point about AI adoption, like still, I know from some of the startups that I heard from, like if you have the .ai domain, that's a problem.
So no
That's a
problem.
problem.
And open the website.
Yeah. So, and this is surprising for me because the first question, and I hear this from my my friends, colleagues, ex-colleagues that I used to work with. So now, if you go to any customers, actually they ask you the question, "What kind of AI do you offer?" Right? And this is the question that comes to mind. But at the same time, yeah, but like security is still doing this. But anyway, this I think it's a phase and we're
Yeah,
gonna pass it.
so the bank, so our customers are using the platform to bring in any kind of AI, but there's just no AI in our stack that's currently in production.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a little bit contradictory, but I think we're gonna reach there. Now, you just touch base on agents and agentic AI and all this. Um, do you think there's a lot of hype here? Are people's expectation, and maybe if you can, relate this to what you offer at NayaOne, and because you don't work only with your customers on like vendor evaluation, but you try to also offer kinds of additional consultancies and guiding them. So, how are you seeing tech leaders now reacting to this agentic AI thing, and everyone again coming with claims that we can do this, we can do that. Uh, so, in a nutshell, what separate the real capabilities from just the hype?
The nutshell would be, if you remember the initial coin offering moment in the blockchain days, so
Yeah.
2018, 2019, it's not quite as bad as that, but there's a lot of agent washing going on in the market. Um, every week I'm getting a enterprise customer tell me, it's like, I looked under the hood and at best this is an RPA that's getting called out as an agent. So, this doesn't help the industry, in my opinion, because people are already very off tech vendors to start with, no matter how lovely we all are. Number two, the moment we start going, everything's an agent, that might work for the BC community, definitely doesn't work for enterprise because it actually makes the job harder. And so that's what I'm saying. Now, having said that, there's some actual good work that's going on. So I'd say there's 70% hype, 30% real work, and 30% real work is way better than the ICO days. So there is work, and the typical use cases we're starting to see would fall under contact center, call center type use cases, engineering, so dev engineering. So we have, like, one of the biggest things people do on the platform is spin up Gen AI dev workspaces, which means you can bring in all the Gen AI tooling you can actually want to do to accelerate your development. Try and doing that in a regulated enterprise. Very, very take a chance of
Yeah.
that. And then the other one we see is anything to do with documents in the back office, right?
Hmm.
So anything to do with PDFs, handwritten docs. So those have been probably the three big categories where we're seeing Gen AI agents, bots being applied, whether they're native companies, so Gen AI native companies, or people building agents themselves.
I would add like kind of my 2 cents here regarding this, Karan, if you allow me. I think what happened, so either people were not informed about the capabilities of what automation can do, and simply just when people started to plug, let's say, some workflows in automatic platforms like N8N and Zapier and Make.com. And funny enough, I was trying to tell people about these platforms even before ChatGPT comes out. And of course, when ChatGPT started to came, I said, guys, look, now you can hook using the APIs. And so the APIs, yeah, like people, I think that, but now, so as you said, 30%, 70%, which we wanted to become like the kind of opposite. I think people are trying to make, I would say, they're marketing it the right way. Let me put it this way. I don't want to be more harsh on people. Right. So yeah, marketing is nice. I'm with marketing, but I mean, just use the right terms, because majority of what they are saying, it's agents. It's something that really you could have done it even in 2020 or 2021
Using
using
Prism or Prism, whatever it's called. Yeah.
exactly. And some API. I'm not saying it was easy. It became much, much, much easier now. But I mean,
100%.
it's just automation. Automation always existed, and yeah, ChatGPT and other LLM tools gave us the edge to do much things in faster way. The real agentic AI, it's, as you said, Karen, still we are in the early days. Like we just
Very
touched
early
the
days.
surface.
Very
Yeah,
early
we just
days, like 5%, if that. Actual stuff. The other thing, or maybe a little bit more. The other thing, just on your point, made me think that's helping the agent flow into these organizations is, which wasn't there in the RPA days, was the board level focus,
right,
right? So the board level focus basically aligned everybody top to bottom, go, right, we got to be doing AI. If we're not doing AI, we're losing ground, right, to competition. And by the way, top use case for all Gen AI or enterprise AI adoption is efficiency. I see less than 10%, that's top line. Everything's bottom line.
right.
Which means, it's an efficiency play at most times, whether that's to retain customers or to retain the customer base. So that's the other thing that's opened up the adoption of agentic AI or AI in general, is because of that C-suite. And it's the longest I feel C-suite's been focused on an AI and on a technology topic, almost coming up to that point. They were on the cloud for a while. And they obviously, got a lot of other things in the world happening. And then like AI is being focused off the boardroom for, coming up 12 months now.
And I think the reason, Karan, is because, and I think this is where you are helping them also as well, and you mention it, because you reach a place where if you don't adopt the technology, you might become obsolete. So I think AI, uh, it allowed, this bell to be, loudly
Yeah,
heard
it's a
in the
loud bell
hall,
for sure.
right? Oh, like look, like this AI can replace what we do as business, and we need to do something about it. Which is
Yeah.
which is good.
It just made me think another point, right? The other observation I have is, again, our client base, banks and insurers and regulators, will typically wait 5 years to buy the product they wanted to buy. And the reason they will do that is like, I will just wait to see who the clear winner is, and then I'll buy the clear winner rather than taking the risk, not in the risk taking business. Funny. When the whole business is about risk. So they don't want to take the risk on the technology and but here's the difference with AI. Making mistakes is part of the journey, because what's going to work in your business is not necessarily going to work in my business. So I can't really just say the core provider you got is going to be good for me because my friend at another business bought it and I'm comfortable with it. Making mistakes, exploration, education, experimentation is part of AI adoption. And it's not just, okay, whether we're a Copilot shop or a Gemini shop or a GPT shop. It's actually going through the journey that's going to build the enterprise muscle to adopt AI, because it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, and mentioning just, I heard this also, and I'm sure you know about it because first you come from this uh, sector also, Karan. Mainly in banking, the first wake up call for them was when the new generation of banks started to appear, like digital banks, neobanks, and
Yeah.
all this. And now they're saying, hey, like, okay, and I know for a fact some of the banks, at least I can talk about this region, they lost customers because, just as an example, opening bank account, like it used to take, I don't know, and until they could have changed and digitalized, I would say, the whole experience, the neobanks and digital banks were like way, 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 way more advanced. And now I still think they didn't catch up yet as big banks. I mean, the traditional banks as we know them. Yeah, they introduced a bunch of good services, but the neobank, I think it was a wake up call that, again, with this AI coming, they said, "Hey, we can't do the same mistake again. Like we can't like just jeopardize on on this opportunity." Am I right?
You are 1,000% correct. It was,
Thank you.
started with the neobanks, then the next big one was it's called, what's the, I'm having a mental blank, buy now, pay later type capability.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
BNPL. Yeah,
yeah, he's called that. So that hurt so many credit card teams in the bank, because all the credit card business went
to
over
them.
to buy now, pay later companies. So that was it was a smaller movement than neobanks, but it actually hurt the banks in the credit card department really, really, really hard, right? So AI, now, if you follow that thinking, is very much, it's across the bank, because you can actually have that level of efficiency and that level of uplift across the bank, but also anybody who's able to move and adopt AI and is your competition, they've just then it's just like, it's just 10x to them if you can, if you're slower than that. That's how.
Absolutely. And uh,
Please still, I mean, understand regulated entity. You gotta go. You gotta go measured. Measured does not mean slow.
100%. Doesn't mean to be slow. Like I think I hope that they will get it because otherwise, someone else will go and do the job. One thing, I was just checking the website and the word itself. I have some interest in that domain. So I've seen like you can help companies in their CVC, which is corporate venture. I'm I'm curious to understand this use case more.
For sure. That's a good one. So typically when we work with a bank or an insurer, if they have a CVC arm, what would happen is the corporate venture capital arm would actually load the platform up with their portfolio companies, right? So imagine a world before NayaOne where I'm a CVC, I've invested in 20 companies. Now, first job I say is, okay, cool, let's get you onboarded onto the bank so someone in the business can have a look. Okay, I've just invested in you and I've just wasted you 12 months to try to get you onboarded into the organization where there may or may not be a use case, or there may be a use case depending on how the CVC is structured. So now enter NayaOne. I have NayaOne. I'm going to load up my 20 portfolio companies and I'm going to distribute that without any friction to as many relevant business units internally as possible, get the proof of value done, and then accelerate the sales. So that's the CVC use case. That's number one. Number two, before I make investment, that's just VC use case as well, is we all know when we're investing in early stage companies, there's something's missing here because it's an early stage company, no problem. But actually running a deep dive or a proof of concept or kick the tires, whatever you want to call it, on NayaOne for the thing you're about to invest in, just tells you a little bit more. So you're a little bit more informed. There's something, now you know what it is.
It's a very smart use case, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like in traditional VCs also as well, like if they can themselves, use the solution that they are backing, that would be great. So in case of CVC, especially if they are bank, that would be fantastic also as well to create the use
We
case.
see the same use case with incubators as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people who are incubating companies, whether
Right?
they're part of the bank or just, professional hardcore incubators or venture builders in the region, especially wanting to use NayaOne because it actually comes with a lot of tech pre-built, comes with a lot of good data, and you have access to the venture that you're building needs access to all these products, tools that is there, and it accelerates. And as it gets into early stages, you're actually able to use the NayaOne network to distribute it out as well.
Cool, very cool. Karan, I know like you're doing some business with this part of the world where I am based in the MENA region. Quickly, two things. How have you seen the adoption in general, and second, from regulations perspective, have you seen like something more easy here to do? Is it like more little bit complicated? Like, and the overall, I would say. How are you seeing the tech in general here in the MENA region?
Yeah, man, that's a whole different podcast on its own. So, or on its own. I mean, look, in general, I'm pretty excited by the MENA region and what's happening in the region because you've got something that's not common across the world, which is you have growth mindset. We have a lot of influx of talent and brain into the region, but you also have top-down initiatives by different governments to make this important. That is not common across the rest of the world. So you actually, as an ecosystem, the macro wins are super amazing in the region. Second thing I'm finding is that the banks and the insurers and the regulators in the region very proactive, like in terms of they're able. I'd say the region is a couple of years in catching up to do in terms of the tech that's being built or what's coming out locally. But equally, the buyer side is learned from all the mistakes that others have done across the world to go, okay, I don't need to do that mistake. I'm just going to leapfrog it. And it's not like I'm going from banking to WeChat. Actually, it's still in the banking space, but actually, I'm just going to leapfrog it. So I do see that. Like the motivation is real, the top down is real. And ability to see that we can actually skip a whole chapter of problems and move forward. So that's I find that real. From a regulation point of view, I think it's regulation. Like we work with some of the regulators in the region. We speak to a lot of them. We speak to all of them in one shape or another. The motivation is correct, right? And it's just the rest is a journey for everybody. And that's across the world.
Absolutely, it is a journey, and to your point, um, so the influx of talent changed a lot from technology adoption perspective. I've been living here in 20 years in Dubai, so yeah, of course, comparing back and then
Yeah, even
huge,
5 years, right?
huge. Like I would say, of course, in the positive
Yes.
side, technology adoption is still there are some work that need to be done, but I mean, compared to previous, even 10 years or even 5 years ago, we are in a much better shape. Regulations, maybe I'm not an expert in this, but what I have seen, like, especially in the fintech space, because Dubai, mainly Dubai, majority of the startups I cover, in my newsletter, like funding and, who did what. So majority of the time I can say Dubai, like they have them most number or uh, the most active when it comes to fintech, and they have done like great on the side of regulations, even with the
Very, very,
non-traditional.
very fintech friendly, very, very tech company friendly.
Yeah.
From
So
a,
so
from
especially
a,
especially on the digital assets and all the
oh
things,
yeah,
which is people tells me like even in some parts of the world still they are not even talking about that. But anyway,
that is true.
um,
One thing I would just quickly say, because I think we've spoke about this in a few ways. I find uh, UAE banks in an interesting place actually, because you've got the UAE banks have grown, so they were going through their upgrades, and they got we're growing, so we got to like level up and industrialize. Then you've got a couple of banks who are already ahead. They're going, okay, we're going to double down on growth, and we're going to adopt, and we're going to move forward. And then you also see there's and everyone's working hard. So don't get me wrong here, right? But then there's this like group of banks that are basically like, well, we're making money.
Yeah, we will see
You know what
later.
I'm talking about? Like, we're making money. So what's the imperative to change? Or, if it's not the CEO, like, who are the people in the middle who are responsible for the change? Like, why do we need to change? So I think I feel that I come across a couple of those things and I was just like, oh, interesting. Maybe you don't have the macro wins that the rest of the world does, but you have your region is now producing unicorns, so it's only a matter of time the next offshoot start coming for your
Yeah.
yes, right?
Uh, yeah, so this part again, I talk about it a lot. Um, there's still work to be done in that, not only in the financial sector, to be fair, and actually some, as you mentioned, some of them they've been like more, I would say, advanced than others. Um, so I tell people like in order to get a real healthy startup ecosystem, of course you need like multiple factors. I will not repeat all of them now, but mainly, of course, you need the money to back these startups. You need the talent, which is we have. You need, many things. But one of the main things that people they don't talk about a lot is to have
Oh,
the
yeah.
early adopters, right? And I refer
Risk
people to, yeah, I refer people to the famous book, which is Crossing the Chasm, right? So to cross the chasm, that means you need to have early adopters, people that, believe you know that they're gonna come back and buy from you, and then you go and take it to the next level, which is scaling up the business. I
yeah,
think this is why I think B2C did better than B2B in this region.
agree.
Hopefully, we all of, not only myself, bunch of people are trying to do is to push that to have like more real B2B business that can be successful, have early adopters, and then take it to the next level. But anyway, that's again like the whole region is still very new to this. We had the
Amazing
first,
progress, though. Amazing
yeah,
progress.
like imagine the first transaction, if not mistaken, happened 2011 or 2012 when Yahoo bought Maktub, which was like a just an email service in Jordan. And then we didn't see anything till Amazon bought Souk.com, and then we start to see Uber buying Kareem. So, but if you see the time, it's getting accelerated, but
Yeah.
still we are kind of slowish than others. But yeah, we're getting there, I would say. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So uh, you want to add something, Karan?
I'm just gonna say the one thing I like about the companies and the products, and this is what I like about working in the MENA region, is it's still maintained the culture and
Yeah,
the local flavor of the
right.
product that are coming through. So not everything's kind of vanilla. So uh, I think there's something to be said about that. And I think that should go towards the +1 section for the local ecosystem.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as I said, this is work in progress, and this is for people coming from outside. And you hit the nail on the head, Karan, about it. It's like, the cultural aspects. So if the people who master that, who understand that, even, in MENA region, let's say only GCC countries, which are like the six countries of the Gulf here, like UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, and Kuwait. So each has its own like flavor, I would say, of the culture. And if you
Yes.
just sort this out, you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um, Karen, I really enjoyed the discussion with you today. Like as you
Likewise.
said, we could have done more and more. Final question: where people can get in touch and find more, or maybe if they want to understand about what you're doing with NayaOne.
Yeah, so neobanks.com is an easy start, but you can also find me on LinkedIn, usually pretty responsive. Get in touch if you're you asked earlier, do we work as a consultancy with the tech vendors? So we don't as much because we're a tech company. We want to focus on the tech product and actually use the product so that way we can help a lot more people. But we do have a lot of founders that come in looking for synthetic data or looking for product feedback. So we are happy to help if there's a particular ask from as they build their product. So it's not like we only focused on the enterprise. We want to make sure it's a healthy growth on both sides.
Founders and entrepreneurs, this one is for you because You need to try and test before you show something in front of your clients. So get in touch with Karan or head to neyaone.com. Everything will be in the show notes. So if you are listening on your favorite podcasting app, you will find all the links in the show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will find them in the description. Karan, again, I can't thank you enough. Busy, busy, busy. I know how it can be busy for someone like yourself as a founder and CEO. And I appreciate all the insight that you shared today. I appreciate also the work you're doing here with the region, and I'm sure there will be a huge interest, hopefully, and wish you all the success. And this is how usually I end the episode. This is for the audience. If you just discovered our podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed. If you did so, give me a small favor, subscribe, share it, and tell your friends and colleagues about it. And if you are one of the people who keeps coming again and again, thank you for doing so. I can't do this. I can't run this show without you, the audience, the fans. You are doing fantastic job for the show. For me, this is something really I'm proud of. The past 3 4 months, I'm repeating this at the end of each episode, but we are currently trending in multiple countries at the same time, in the top 200 charts of Apple, in the entrepreneurship, and sometimes in the business category. But something happened in July, which where we are now recording, and it will be released in 2 weeks, as I said. So we are 8 countries at the same time. This is something I never saw before. So 8 countries in different continents. This cannot happen without two factors. First, you, the audience, and of course, Karan, you are part of that, my guest. I'm very grateful, and I hope that I can keep, inspire, help in any shape, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if I can do anything. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll meet again very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.